How you doing? It's the Butcher here, and I'm back today with another build for the Abattoir Zero event that is coming in just a few days now. My last video was the Lightning Ball Sork, and now I'm moving on to probably the second most popular build in the season, which is the HoTA Barb. I've been playing this pretty much since the beginning. It was actually the first thing I played like back in preseason, and I've loved it ever since. And yes, I know these are, I do want to address something before I do a ton of these videos. I know these are like meta classes, but this is what I'm playing. This is what I'm making the builds on. If you want to play something unique, all the more power to you. I really like the overpowered stuff. I really like HoTA in general. So for me, that's fun, and it's gonna, overpower is gonna get nerfed, so we're not gonna be able to use this forever. Ball lightning is gonna get nerfed to like my last build, so this is kind of the only time you can use it. So kind of just do whatever you want, but I know that will probably get brought up at some point, so just kind of want to address that quick. But yeah, so let's go over the build. We're gonna start with the skill tree, and then we'll move into the gear. Then we'll move into the Paragon board, and then I'll finally show off kind of the gameplay loop and some gameplay in a Nightmare dungeon. And I actually found a good sigil for this. It's a tier 99, but monsters gain 30% of their life as a barrier, so they're going to have more life like they will on Abattoir Zero. And then we have this Backstabbers one, which we take 30, I think they buffed it, we take 35% more damage. So it should really be able to test, the characters. It's a pretty hard affixes on there. But anyway, let's get into the skill tree. And to note again, I'm using the Shaco. I will provide alternatives for all Uber uniques, but I unfortunately will not for regular uniques because they're pretty easy to find. I think they're going to be pretty essential to these builds. It's kind of like I said in the last one, that's going to be my rule for this. But as far as our skill tree, so just the reason I say that is because you'll see 4 to all of our skills here. We're going to be taking Lunging Strike into combat for the chance to gain Berserking. Then we're obviously going to be taking 5 points into Hammer of the Ancients, and we're taking that into Furious. Then if we come down here, we're just taking 1 into Rallying Cry, and we're taking that into Tactical. We're taking 1 into Challenging Shout, and we're taking that into Enhanced. We are taking 3 into Swiftness for some movement speed. We are taking 1 into Warcry and then into Enhanced. We're taking 3 into all of these here, so Booming Voice, Guttural Yell, and Raid Leader. And then we're taking 3 into Aggressive Resistances and 3 into Prolific Fury for a Fury regen. This one you can take out for, as you'll see when we go down here to, it's up here actually. So we are using Iron Skin. It's on our bar. I just don't have any points into it. But that is probably where I would take it out from, either that or Raid Leader, one of the two. Probably actually Raid Leader, now that I think of it. To just put 1 in there, actually probably take a point out of each and put 1 in here, and then into Enhance, since you won't have the extra points there to get a bigger barrier. But yeah, I think that's the only thing we have to address in terms of kind of the Shaco part of it, not to put skill points in. And then down to here, we have 1 point into Thick Skin, and that's to get 3 into counter offensive. We have 3 into Pit Fighter. We have 3 into Wallop. We have 3 into Brutal Force. We are not taking an ultimate. We have 1 into Tempered Fury, and we have 3 into Invigorating Fury for healing. One thing that could change, and like I said, we could take the points out, is if we feel like we need more damage, which I don't think we do with this class. We'll probably take Wrath of the Berserker, maybe against like the bosses. That could change. And then finally, Unbridled Rage as the key passive. So that is the skill tree. And again, that will be in the description in the build planner. I'll have the full skill tree and everything on d4builds.com. So for a helmet, we are using a Shaco here. If you do not have the Shaco, I would probably suggest going with this unique helmet and looking for good rolls on Damage While Berserking, Max Fury, and the 3 on Aggressive Resistances for extra DR. However, you could also, there's an argument to be made with just using a regular helmet and slapping Might on there and doing Damage While Berserking, Max Fury, armor, and then really just anything else. Maybe like a resistance or something, so you can slap even some more armor in there and make you a bit tankier, but you're obviously not getting all the benefits of Shaco. So I would probably suggest rolling with this for the damage output. For our chest piece, we're going DR on it, so we want a very high roll on armor. I have straight DR and I have distant as well because I'm getting close in several other ways, so I would like some distant as well. I think that's good. And we are going to take one resistance actually on our chest piece. So for me, it's Shadow, and this is going to depend on what you have on our boots when we get down there, but you're going to take one resistance on your chest piece as well. Then for the gloves, we have 4 ranks of Hammer of the Ancients. We have Disobedience, on the chest piece, and we have rubies in all the armor. And all the weapons for that matter. For our gloves here, we want ranks of Hammer of the Ancients. We want crit chance, attack speed, and lucky hit chance. And we're using Relentless's Berserker with that, so we can hopefully stay Berserk as much as possible. We're using Tybalt's Will. Most important thing for this is really the kind of that bottom one, as much damage as possible. When you're unstoppable, we're going to be unstoppable basically all the time with what we're using. And then also as much max resource as you can get is nice. And then obviously the DR damage are also very nice. Then down to our boots here. So this is where we want movement speed and then 3 resistances. And we want one of them to either not be cold or fire because of the way we have our Paragon board set up. So you can see I have fire in here, but I don't have cold, and that's why we have this over here. And if we go down to our resistances, you can see I'm max out except for 0.1 off Shadow. It's probably like 1 in node, but not too big of a deal. But those are our boots, and then it would be nice to get the extra ranks to dash. Unfortunately, we don't have that with these, so we're rolling with the attacks reduce its cooldown. So it'll still be up pretty much all the time. We're running with Ghost Walkers on those, so we get great movement speed. And then down to the weapons. So on every single weapon, you're actually going to want the same affixes. You can see here, though, I'm using 2 Ubers. So I'm using Doombringer, and I'm using the Grandfather Sword. Those, I think, are best in slot for both offensive and defensive purposes, but they could definitely be replaced. And what you're going to want to replace it with is, as you can see my mallet here, I have all stats, strength, overpower, damage all berserking, and then I have the Edge Masters on it. The other one, so there's actually several things you can use. Do I have it here? Let me see. So the other ones you can use, if I go over here, so you can use Earth Striker, which is what I would suggest. Let me go through the other ones first, actually. So on one of our one-handed maces, we want to use maces for the one-handers, unless you're using a Doombringer. We're going to want same affixes, and we're going to want the Ancestral Force aspect on it. And then for the other one, if you're not using a Doombringer, you're going to want Earth Striker. And then for, again, our two-hander, same affixes as before, you're going to want the one with, right here, it is the Limitless Rage, where each point of Fury, generating all max Fury, grants your next core skill up to 60% increased damage. And so I've debated, since I only really have one slot, what to use. I could use Earth Striker to gain another chance at a overpower. And so this is Earth Striker right here, so after swapping 8 times your next skill overpower. The only problem is it's not always going to be on the Hammer and Agents. We don't swap weapons a ton, so I didn't opt for that. We could also use this Limitless Rage one, but I settled on Edge Masters if we're only able to use one, just because I think it provides the most consistent output of damage, in my opinion. But that's probably a long-winded spiel that was unnecessary. And then for our jewelry here, we are using Banished Lords for the increase to our overpowers. Really looking for, this is actually like a perfect one. I got so many to drop from Duriel, it's insane, so eventually it was a really good one. Really want a high number down below for that 120. High crit chance, resource gen, and then overpower. We're on high on all of them, basically. This thing is like tailor-made for this build. It's like, there's no other way to explain it. And now for our two rings here. So I'm using triple shout. So I'm using the Echoing Fury aspect, and I'm using the Bold Chieftains aspect. But there is also this Ring of Red Furor, and this is pretty good. It guarantees you a crit, but I didn't see it increasing my damage all that much. Not to the point where it's worth losing one of these, because if you lose one of these, what I would suggest is putting on the aspect that grants you Fury while berserking, but that's just not as good in my opinion. Or you could keep this one on, but your shouts are going to have much higher cooldowns. So, because we are taking Martial out of our board when I go to the Paragon board as the one we're replacing with Tears of Blood. So I like to run it like this. I've used this just like running Duriel just to make sure I get a crit. But you can save it, like keep it there for bossing, but I would probably run with these two, and then you could take, if you do want to run it for bossing, you take this out because there's not going to be a lot of enemies around you anyway to reduce it, even though there's going to be 3, so it will actually be better than single target, so I'm probably just going to keep this in, to be honest, but that is an option as well I wanted to go over. So on both the rings we want the same affixes. We want crit, damage while berserking, max fury, resource gem. That ring, this is an amazing ring. This one's pretty good as well too. And then like I said, those 2 aspects on there. So that is all the gear. So, and then the expertise, we're using two-handed axe for more damage to vulnerable enemies, and then obviously we're using the hammer for the Hammer of the Ancients, but we are using the sword for the lunging strike. And you might be thinking, you know, you kind of want to use the one-handers to make it faster, build fury faster, but the reason we're doing that is because when we're using two-handed sword, we inflict bleeding, and if we kill an enemy that is bleeding, we do have a chance at this node right here, which we're mainly using for the damage bonus, but can also grant us berserking as well. So that's why we're doing that. So now if I drag my Paragon board over here, you can see what we're going to be using. So this is including the Tears of Blood, which we're going to be putting right here. Kind of came to the conclusion that was the best spot, mainly because we're getting the bonus to this and we can get a lot of strength. But we're using Exploit. We're coming up here using the new Tears of Blood. We are using, and this is where we're getting that cold resist, like I said before, so we're able to just throw in that, what's it called? The Sapphire. Jesus, I can't believe I blanked for that long. The Sapphire into our jewelry. And then we're able to use armor in the other ones. And then we're using Crusher here. We're going up to Ire over here. We're grabbing Bonebreaker for extra overpower. We're grabbing Territorial over here. And I thought about dropping this one and keeping Martial, and that still might be an option, so we'll see. I did want to mention that, but for now I'm leaving in Territorial, mainly for the DR, but Martial could also be an option as well too, just to keep in mind. And we'd probably move Martial over to here and Crusher over to here, I think, is what we would do. So I will tinker this and I will keep them updated as I change it around throughout, you know, the event, but this is what I'm sticking with to start. And then finally over here we're coming to get this damage bonus, and that goes off your bonus while berserking, so we're coming down here and grabbing that as well too for extra damage while berserking. So that is the Paragon board, and this will be in the description. And let me move that over. I just realized I forgot to go over the vampiric powers we're using. So the 5 that we're using is Parry the Weak for extra damage. We're using Resilience for more DR. We're using Metamorphosis to make us unstoppable, which works great with Vaults. We're using Sanguine Brace for Fortified generation, and also mainly really to gain that 8% crit chance when we have more than half of our life is fortified. And then we're using Blood Boil for an extra way to overpower. So the ways we can overpower, which is the main big damage dealer with this build, is going to be, where is it? It's right here. Bonebreaker. It's going to be Banished Lord's Talisman, where after we spend 300 of a primary resource, our next core skill is guaranteed to overpower. It's going to be that Blood Boil Vampiric power, and then obviously the 3% inherent chance that you have. And then if you are using Earth Striker as well too, that will be another source. But I feel like it's not worth it, and that's probably the least reliable source in my opinion. So without further ado, let me drop these back off in here. Let's jump into this nightmare dungeon. Like I said, this should be like good for simulating it because they have extra health and they also have this backstabbers ethic, so we take more damage as well too. So let's jump in and let's show off the build. And this is pretty straightforward as far as the gameplay loop. You're going to use your shouts for their abilities and to generate fury, and you're going to smash the hammer down on enemies. It's basically what we're going for. So if it loads here, we're going to come in. You see how much resource gen we get, and we have 169 primary resource. Nice. You can see the giant smashes we're doing, and I have it. You could spec it out too. I'm not even using the glyph for overpower damage, but I feel like we're getting enough. We can see if we don't, then obviously we need to change something. But I'm kind of mindlessly doing this right now. We're just smashing, 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 bang, bang, bang. Like I said, this will work even without the Uber Uniques. The Uber Uniques just really give you more damage, and the big thing, especially with, why are you not attacking? Big thing, especially with Doombringer, is it's actually going to give you some defense as well too, with being able to give that what is it, shadow, I believe it applies, and reduces their damage by 20%. So we're zipping through, pop a couple shouts. I mean, you've probably seen this a million times this season, so the gameplay loop isn't, revolutionary here. But you can see how tanky we are, how much damage we're doing. I mean, when we get an overpower, it's always a one shot. Even when we don't, even in a tier 99, we're still basically like, that was not overpower at all, and it was still a 3.7 million hit. So the damage is nuts. You're constantly doing damage. Oh, I hate those things. Those are probably my least favorite enemies in the game. And as you can see, I mean, that's actually a small one with the 35 mil. I think I've hit with this. I think I've hit. I think it was 197 is my highest for an overpowered crit. Oh, I forgot. I don't like this dungeon. I don't like to free the prisoners or anything like that. It does get a little wonky sometimes with mob clear when they're like attacking you from everywhere, but this is one of the best builds in the game. It's probably, I think most people agree, either this or Ball Lightning, which are the first two I started with. Those are probably the two that are going to get the farthest in Abattoir's ear. Rogue has some good ones with the crazy combo point glitch. I do have a Druid one coming that is solid, and I do have a Necro, a Bone Spear Necro as well. But they probably don't touch this or the Ball Lightning Sork in terms of full power. But, oh god, it scared me. Just teleported out of nowhere. So we're smash, 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 smash. This is not as long as I wanted the gameplay section to be. I didn't realize this was one of these stupid free all the prisoner dungeons, but as you can see, even with the extra life and the extra damage they get when they backstab us, we have pretty much cleared this with absolute ease with my terrible gameplay and also not paying attention, which is an awful combo. But we haven't, like, I think we used Iron Skin once, and basically the way you want to use Iron Skin is, once your health really drops below 50, pop that, make sure you can get back to full health, and then keep going. And I believe it's on like a 12-second cooldown, give or take, with the way we have it. Maybe up to 14 if you're not using Shaco. So you have it a decent amount, and you'll be able to have it up pretty much all the time when you need it. At least in these dungeons. Obviously, we'll have to see when the new ones come out, if that's actually the case still. And we're gaining Unstoppable through our Rallying Cry, but we're also able to get it through our Meta Dash when Rallying Cry is not up. The only thing you have to be careful of is not using it too early if you're planning on using the dash to actually generate resource, because if you use it while you're still unstoppable, you won't get any of the resource. So I finally freed the prisoners. Make my way. Oh, is this a boss? I'm gonna absolutely smash it. Okay. I'm actually gonna do this. Oops, I'm hitting the wrong button. Hitting caps lock. I'm trying to make sure we overpower, is what I was trying to do. Okay. So we can see, and this is something you can do with that red ring too. You can see just, oh, we didn't get a crit. Another not crit. Oh, come on, bro. Oh, that was the worst boss showcase ever. I didn't get one crit. What's my crit chance at? Where are you? 67. I get one. Well, that was anticlimactic. But that's the idea behind the build. Like I said, it will all be online in the d4build.com planner, and you'll have access to it and be able to see everything I went over in this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the second of 5 I'm doing. I'm not sure which one will be next, but it'll be out probably within the next couple days. So this has been The Butcher. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next one.